Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Daily Deuce. As you can see, I am not the usual face, but a returning face. So, I will let my father John just get into it. But hello, everybody. I'm Dante Webster.
Hey, and I'm John Webster. Thank you for joining another episode of the Daily Deuce today. Dante, thank you very much for stepping in as a sub today. We appreciate it. Our normal host, a normal comrade in the show, Gary Graves, is on extended duty today. Today was the first day for National Signing Day for the NCAA, and he's working a little overtime trying to get that all together with where the recruits are going.
Good for him. It sounds like quite an adventure. I mean, the real adventure is going to be going online to see how many of these recruits chose good old-fashioned Kentucky. Let's go blue. They're on the come up in football, so I think it may have been a pretty good number. No idea. I'd have to take a look.
I just say you can look at that blue, but the real blue you need to look at is the one in South Bend, Indiana.
Well, okay, I'll probably wonder how many 5-stars went there too that play skill positions. You're killing it in offensive linemen every year, in and out. You have so many offensive linemen, defensive linemen. The best safety in the country, I think, this year is for you all, right? Well,
yes.
One coming into there's one that's going to go into the draft this year.
Kyle Hamilton. He's going into the draft. Matter of fact, he's not even going to play in the festival.
Smart.
I didn't say that.
I mean, what get you? Hey, man, you gotta make sure you get your investment correct. You don't want to get hurt in the festival.
I'm trying to get a W.
It's not the national championship, so I actually understand. If I'm not playing for the national championship, I was a college kid, I'd probably feel the exact same way. That's just me. I mean, the coach quit on the team, so at that point, I feel like whatever everybody else does is fine.
Well, we wish Coach Kelly nothing but the best. He's gone now, and we're now in the Coach Freeman phase of life.
Okay, you know what? That's good. You know, we see that there's a new black coach at Notre Dame, so that's always going to be an adventure. And hoping for the best for him. I hope that things go well for him. He's a player's coach, but he also says that he has high expectations for his players. I know this isn't our college football segment, but I do want to recognize that. So good for him. And I haven't been here, so do want to make sure I congratulate him. Happy to see him get the job, and happy that it's a guy that the players wanted to play for. So good for him.
And you see, I have the Notre Dame blue on today.
You know what? Somebody has to root for him, right? Somebody has to root for him. There's nothing wrong with that. Notre Dame's a respectable, solid organization. I heard that their kids on the football team have to take calculus or something like that.
Let's be very clear. Notre Dame is the epitome of a student athlete, and it's one of the highest excellence of academia that you will find of any college in this country or in this world.
You know who wins national championships? Players that get C's. But you can have all your straight A players if you want. You can have all the academic All-Americans in the world, but it doesn't really matter. Not to say that there aren't smart kids that are actually good at football too. Not to say that, but just saying. You need to do to be academically eligible. So let's not make it too difficult here. Notre Dame is one of the few places where you sit around the whole football teams and the honors English program. You're just like, how are you all ever going to make sure you're eligible? Like, you actually have to do work. But again, it's not right.
Student athlete, Dante, not an athletic student, a student athlete.
An unpaid employee. Got it. Okay, thank you. But, I guess it's time for us to jump into our first topic of the day. And so we're going to get into the NFL. And so in the NFL this past week, we actually had a slate of decent games. Sometimes you watch these games and they're not that good. Some of these games ended up being good for reasons they should not have been. And that's what we're going to start off with the Dallas Cowboys beating the Washington football team this past Sunday. A game that featured a 20-point lead almost destroyed within the span of one quarter. It ended up being a game that became good for reasons that are terrible, but it was watchable television. It basically became, you're not going to let me win. No, I'm not going to let you win. Basically, everybody tried their hardest to lose. It was the darndest thing I have seen in quite some time. I know John Pitt's also joining us here, and he's a fellow Cowboys fan like myself. So I'm gonna cede the floor to him and let him start us off before we get going. How'd you think of the win there, John?
So on last week's show, your co-host here told the entire world that, because I work with your dad, that I hide after the Dallas Cowboys play the Washington football team, and I'm hard to find and da. So now this week, the show didn't usually we do this on Monday, Tuesday, and it's Wednesday, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't introduce me as he normally does. I think he's avoiding this topic. So I have a question. Is your father really a Washington football team fan on the low?
Well, first of all, let me back up because that is totally remiss of me. And I deeply apologize.
That's okay.
I should have, and I want to do it now. Let's recognize our producer, John Pitt, who we can't do without. And that's totally my fault. So let me introduce you, John. Thank you for being here. Like always, John. Thank you. And please forgive me.
Anyway, Dante, welcome back. First original special guest host and Dallas Cowboy fan. I'm disappointed in the team right now. But I'll let you guys go. I was very disappointed in the team. However, I do love Micah Parsons. Oh, my Micah. My, oh, Micah.
Ooh, I like that, Pitt. Oh, my Micah.
Yeah, no, Micah Parsons was the highlight of Sunday's game. The defense should basically earn the privilege to split up Dak's game check. I don't think he earned it. No offense to him. Nice guy. Does a lot of good things. Didn't really earn his game check on Sunday to me. But, it happens sometimes. The defense bailed him out, and that's why you have a team. Football is a team sport. But it seemed like the offense was literally working to lose the game, and the defense was like, we're going to win today. We actually want this. For the Cowboys, Zeke Elliott's been banged up. So you have Corey Clement out there who hadn't made a big play since he won a Super Bowl with the Eagles. So it's looking rough. Dallas's backup running back, Tony Pollard, also out with the torn plantar fascia. So it was a lot going on there. That was one of the ugliest wins I think I've seen from this game in a while. And it wasn't ugly as in just a low scoring game. It was just not quality football. Like I said earlier, it was entertaining, but it was just two teams who were just really struggle with one another, and neither looked extremely disciplined. And for WFT, Taylor Heineke finally looked like an undrafted free agent that he was. Like, he picked the wrong day to turn back into a pumpkin. It just didn't look good for him for a lot of the game. He also got banged up. Washington had a lot of guys on the COVID list as well. So you kind of wonder, if you're the Cowboys, what happens if you do that against a good team? Because you really laid an egg there, but got lucky that you were playing a mediocre quarterback at that moment. I'm not saying he's bad, but he was below average on Sunday. I don't want to insult him too much. He was below average on Sunday. It just wasn't a good game. How'd you think of it?
Well, I think I know you and Pitt are big Cowboy fans. I think that the defense played very well. I'm very impressed with the defense. Micah Parsons is very good. He's not just a rookie of the year. He may be defensive player of the year. He really has the ability to change the game around. I'm not saying this kid is the person I'm getting ready to name. So let me be very clear when I say this. I'm not comparing, but I'll just say some aspects of Micah Parsons reminds me of a guy from the 80s. He played in the NFC East. His name was Lawrence Taylor. And I say that because Parsons can control a game. Parsons can wreak havoc in a game by himself, which he did, and will continue to do. So I really like him. I think now, I've told both of y'all this on offense with Dak Prescott. I think Dak Prescott's hamstringing himself because one of his assets is the fact that he can run. He ran at Mississippi State a little bit. He won't run now. Dante, you and I talked about this week. You think he stopped running after he hurt his calf. Dak Prescott stopped running about 2 years ago. He stays in the pocket. He refuses to leave the pocket. I mean, he stays there to the detriment of himself, in my opinion. I mean, the last drive on the game, remember that last drive? They had 4th and 3. Mm-hmm. Zeke Elliott's in the flat, and Dak Prescott's rolling out. The linebacker, the defenseman, is coming up on Elliott. So Prescott went ahead and ran for the 3 or 4 yards. You remember I told you, Dante, he looked really good running for that 3 or 4 yards. He needs to do that more often. I know he doesn't want to get hurt. I get that, but I think he has another asset to the team. I think if they're playing on all cylinders, they can compete with Tampa Bay, they can compete with Green Bay. I still think Tampa Bay and Green Bay are the teams that are going to come out of here. The Rams played good this past Monday night, but will they play good this coming week? They need to be able to put 2 or 3 games together. That they haven't done that really this year, in my opinion. So, and Arizona, it's Arizona. I can't sit here and.
Well, when I was watching the Rams game, I think the thing that stood out to me was that they finally felt the effects of having a short quarterback. Because Kyler Murray's, I don't even know if he's my height, but he was struggling to throw. He was struggling to throw. He couldn't see, or it looked like he was struggling with seeing. The mobility is one of his best assets. If he can get out there and run, it helps him a lot. But he was just struggling in some of those passes. I think he threw a couple picks. It just didn't look that great. But the thing that also stood out about the Washington-Dallas game from this past Sunday is, if you're a Washington fan, you have to be pretty mad at the fact that, and this is before injury, just to make sure I'm saying this and not to make it seem like I'm just talking about because he's injured. Michael Parsons looked like everything you probably wanted Chase Young to be. Like Chase Young, when he has played, he hasn't wreaked havoc. He's supposed to be a can't miss prospect. He was the generational prospect, the easy no-brainer pick at number 2. And I'm not saying he's been bad, but he doesn't show up on every single play. Michael Parsons stands out on just about every play. He will make a play just about every game. Chase Young hasn't really done that. And it's not, and I'm not trying to just say, it's like, oh, he'll never do it. But if you've been watching, man, Michael Parsons looked like he was everything he's supposed to be. Because Michael Parsons wasn't supposed to be a pass rusher when he came out. Just supposed to be a running linebacker that just, was able to get to the ball and do everything. But he's proven he can also rush the passer too.
Sometimes I think you have to look at what you have. And sometimes as a coach, you can overcoach. Sometimes you got to pull back and look and say, like Michael Parsons, I know there's a playbook for Michael Parsons, but I would really believe that a lot of that playbook they use, but they also tell him, you go do what you got to do. Mm-hmm. And I think with Washington and Chase Young, I think he had a very good first year. This year, he had some good moments. There were some challenges, but I think they're challenges because of the defense, but I also think they're challenges because they are stuck in a scheme. They want to have a certain scheme. I'll give you a quick example. I know we got to keep moving, but let me just give you a quick example. A few years back, Washington had Marty Schottenheimer as a head coach. They were 8-8 that year. They had a linebacker named LeVar Arrington. LeVar Arrington, that was his rookie year, I think. He had a tremendous year. They were 0-5, and one of the reasons they turned it around is because of the interception he made against Carolina, and then it won the game, becoming 8-8 for the whole season. But my whole point is, Schottenheimer knew that he had a great player there, and he knew how to handle him, and he let him play. And if he had him this whole career, LeVar Arrington, in my opinion, would be in the Hall of Fame. When he went to play with Washington and they had Greg Williams, it was more of a scheme, and Arrington didn't fit into that scheme. It was more of read and not react. And I think that's what Washington has right now. I think Chase Young is a player that can react. If you just turn him loose, he's going to do wonders. He's going to do a lot of things. But I think it's a lot of that defense is reading and then reacting. I'm not a football guy, but that's just what I think.
It's fair enough. And as you know, we keep talking about football here, and we talked about Chase Young. Chase Young went to Ohio State. So that takes us to our next topic here. We have the NCAA college football playoffs are coming up. And one of the teams that are in there, Ohio State's arch rival, Michigan, made it to the college football playoffs. I think they're number 2 in the country. And so the matchups that we have right now are number 1, Alabama against number 4, Cincinnati, who completely shocked the world and wasn't supposed to be there. And number 2, Michigan, also, I must say, shocked the world, wasn't supposed to be there, playing against Georgia, which that makes sense. So I guess out of all of these games, I guess me and you we're going to be on different sides of this, because I know the game you're most looking forward to, and it's not the game that I want to watch, because the game that you're most looking forward to is probably Michigan and Georgia. And that's fine. But when I hear Michigan and Georgia, I literally think of that game that we got from Alabama and LSU like 5 or 6 years ago, where the final score was 9-6. Yeah, I could see that being the case, and I could tell you I'm not keeping my TV on if that's the case. I will change it immediately. I'm not watching a 9-6 football game. Defensive stalemates, it's not the 1940s anymore. I'm sorry. I got multiple channels to choose from. I don't just have 5 and 3, and I got to just make a call of which one I want to watch.
I will call you and make sure you stay up and watch it with me.
If it's 9-6, just let me sleep. I'll be sleeping.
Hey, but I'm going to tell you something. The Alabama-Cincinnati game has a very interesting spin about it. A lot of people want to see Cincinnati win because they're Cinderella. They want to see that slipper fit on that foot one more time. But that's a tough game. They're playing against Nick Saban in Alabama, and they found a role now. They did a number on Georgia. The bad thing about these conference playoffs, and they go to the college football playoffs, the momentum you have, you may lose it because you got to wait for 2 or 3 weeks. They're not going to play until December 31st. That's what? Not this Friday, next Friday. So that was 3 weeks off, Dante? That 3 weeks?
You closing in on a month. They've been off for a while. Like, I think conference championship weekend was the weekend before last, so it was the weekend around the 7th or so. Yeah. But it's been quite a while. They're closing in on darn near a month with that one.
24 days. December 7th, December 31st, 24 days.
Yeah.
Okay. So that momentum they had when they beat the snot out of Georgia, they may lose it. They may lose it because you're sitting back for a while. Okay. Now, the game against Georgia, now here's a bad thing for Georgia. Two things can happen to Georgia. One, you got your butts kicked, and when you lose like that, you get it out your system, and you come back, you're just ready to play. The other thing that can happen is you've been beating everybody the whole year. You've been the tough guy. Now you're being looked at as a bully because Alabama punched you in your nose and you couldn't punch them back. Mm-hmm. And now you may not have the confidence you used to have because you're getting ready to go into another game with another team that plays punch you in the mouth football, which is Coach Kaki in Michigan. So if they can't punch back, they're going to have a problem. And Alabama punched them in the mouth. Mm-hmm. They came back and tied the game, but the second half, it was all Alabama. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't do a doggone thing. So it's going to be interesting. I guess, for me, if I'm going to predict real quick, mm-hmm. I want Michigan. I'm going with Coach Kaki. That's my man. And then as much as I want to say Cincinnati, I'm going to say Alabama.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think I would predict the same thing. I'm surprised I'm going to take Michigan because I never thought he would beat Ohio State. So I guess I think he's going to ride the momentum out here, and I think he'll end up in a national championship game. I know that the television executives, even though football, you'll always get an audience, I know they want Alabama in that national championship game. That's for sure. Cincinnati was a real cute story. Cincinnati ain't bringing butts to seats, so they probably don't want them in the national championship game. You got them this far. That's more than enough for you.
They'll buy tickets.
Say what?
They'll buy them tickets. They'll buy them tickets to go.
That is absolutely excellent and good for them. Cincinnati was a really good story this year. And, mm-hmm. I don't want to discredit anything they've done, but playing against the opponents you play in their conference and playing against Alabama are two different things. I think the ride ends for them. And unless they're about to pull some Central Florida style magic out of nowhere or something, or Boise State from what they used to do back in the day, I see that being a blowout. So I think I have the same championship game as you. I'll go Alabama and Michigan as well. Surprisingly, me and you will actually agree on that. I think with Georgia will just run into the problem of they have even less offense than Michigan does. And, I'm not a big fan of Michigan's offense either. So it really says something that I think they're going to just have even less. So it'll be a run the ball type game. And Michigan has two good running backs. So, I mean, it's going to be hard for Georgia. Georgia's not going to shut them out. They're going to get on the board at some point. So it'll just be, how will you match? And after what Alabama did to them, no, Michigan doesn't have that high-powered offense that Alabama can use at times. But I still feel like, it'll be about the same type of result where, they just won't be able to keep up. But I definitely see it being a physical game. I don't think Michigan will pull away until probably about the fourth quarter. So it'll be close. It'll be physical. It'll be an old school type of game that you'll enjoy. Again, I just pray for something better than 6-9.
Maybe I'll just come over and get you and bring you over to the house. Your mother will be glad to see you.
Yeah, but if I have to sit at your house and watch a 9-6 football game, I'm gonna cry. I'm not. That's worse than watching the Notre Dame national championship game, probably.
Hey.
I mean, you didn't have to stay awake. You knew at halftime you could go to bed. You probably do after the first quarter. Let's be honest. Probably after the first drive.
You and your mother came downstairs to tell me that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. It happens to the best of us. It really does.
Not every year.
You're right. It's not every year. Sometimes you didn't even make it to the championship game. So be happy you did. It was the experience. It was the experience, and that's what matters.
Well, now LSU gets to experience that.
God help them. I really hope it's literally like a can't miss job, but a lot of guys have missed. So in recent years. So
what I'll say to you on that, and I know we got to move to the next subject. Read up on the people who have started leaving LSU and the portal that is opened up already with the people going out the door.
That's going to be the worry. Like I said, Brian Kelly, smart football mind, maybe not the best people guy. So we'll see how they'll figure this out. But speaking of people guys, we saw one of the ultimate people that's just beloved by all sports fans, Steph Curry. Yesterday, he became the NBA's new 3-point king. I can't think of a better way to describe it. He now leads the league in 3-pointers made. The record was 2,973, which was set by Ray Allen not that long ago. And Steph Curry, yesterday, he reached 2,974, and then he also got a couple more on top of that. So he's become the new 3-point king. And I mean, the part that stands out the most to me is that Steph Curry is only 33 years old, and shooting is a skill that translates well even with age. My question at this point is, how far does he take it? Because he already got it, and he's still good. Like he's most likely going to end up winning MVP this year. And I mean, it'll probably end up being close, but I think that's most likely going to happen based on narrative. And not just, he's good too, but narrative also helps a lot. But not to get distracted. But yeah, so I think that'll happen. He'll definitely have another 2 or 3 years where he's still a pretty good MVP level player, just based off of the things that he can do and based off of this unique shooting ability that he has. So I mean, you congratulate him. And like I said, I just wonder, how far can he take it? How much can he make this record just insurmountable for whoever the next person is? Because even as the game has leaned towards more shooting, we've never seen it done at the efficient clip that he's been doing it at. The efficiency with the number, with the matching volume.
Well, I'm going to say, first of all, congratulations to him. That's the first thing. I'm going to say this, Dante, and you may disagree with me, and you and I always disagree anyway, so that makes it fun. I think the key for him, as far as how long he can go shooting threes, is how long Klay Thompson can play. I think Klay Thompson coming back is going to really help them from 2 points. One, as a team, you know as well as I do, it's different playing at home as opposed to playing on the road. Mm-hmm. They have not really been playing well on the road. They struggled against the Knicks last night. They struggled against Indiana the night before. So, and then they lost to, who did they lose to? I can't remember, 3 games ago they lost to somebody. I can't remember who they lost to. But in all me saying that, I think if Klay Thompson comes back and is effective, it helps Steph Curry, because you can't just load up on Steph Curry. Home games, he's going to be out of his mind, because when all these other kids are playing at home, they feel great. You park in the same spot every time. It's your locker the same time. You come in the same door. You leave out the same door. Everything is feeling great for you at home. It's when you go on the road that you feel a little bit different. And you need somebody like a Klay Thompson, who is a veteran, who's a proven veteran, who can get it done, and who is a lethal 3-point shooter himself, to take some of the pressure off Curry. I think that's going to make his career longer if Klay Thompson can come back and play. I really do. I think that's the key. If Klay Thompson comes back and is the Klay Thompson of before, you can see Steph Curry playing for another 5 or 6 years, Dante.
I mean, I agree, but the hardest thing is I just, even though we've seen Kevin Durant come back from an Achilles injury and just be dominant, with the Achilles and the torn ACL, I just doubt that he'll be the same player. That's why I just kind of think, what percent of him do you need in order to, get back most of what you lost? Can he come back and be 75% of the guy he used to be? I just that's just me. I just don't think I don't think you'll see 100% again, where he's the lockdown defender that he was, and, that guy. I mean, of course, shooting, like I said, it transfers, but it's hard to think that he'll be 100%.
Well, you're right. But I think 80% of him is really going to help them, because these kids are still kids and they are still trying to learn the game. And it's really a struggle when you play on the road. And this road trip, like I said, they've had the Knicks, they've had Indiana, and I still can't remember the third team, because that's the team they lost to. Can't remember who that was. But anyway, road games is going to be a key. Getting Klay Thompson back and getting Klay Thompson back not only is a key for road games, but is a key for Steph Curry to keep his career going a long time.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm with you. I'm very interested in seeing how this product all looks together. Based off of how they played last year and how they played this year, they definitely changed it up. Draymond Green looks like he cares again. You know, they actually do. They have more veterans now. The younger guys aren't getting as many minutes. Like last year, they were trying to get the future and the present on the same page. They realized you can't serve two masters. So they chose their path. They loaded up, got some decent free agents. You know, they still have a couple, like you said, it's young guys that they have been relying on, like Jordan Poole, who, you know, they're going to be up and down because they are young guys. That's one of those things.
You know, hey, but you know what? I'm going to tell you a secret, Dante. You ready for this?
What?
You know what I would do with Klay Thompson?
What would you do?
Bring him off the bench. I wouldn't even start him.
Oh, yeah, no, that's not happening.
I wouldn't. I'd bring him off the bench. That's 15 to 20 points off the bench to go along with Otto Porter.
I could put Jordan Poole on the bench. He can be 15 points too, probably.
It would mess with his psyche. It would mess with his psyche.
Okay, no offense to him. The understanding when you step in for Klay Thompson has to be that you know you're going back to the bench eventually, right? Like, I mean, you don't get to the NBA without having some sort of ego or supreme confidence. It's just impossible. But there has to be some sort of understanding between the coach and you and the organization that, as no matter how good you do, your journey will be full circle when you're back on this bench with me. Like, it doesn't mean he's not going to play. And I mean, you know, the way the Warriors play small anyway, he can always end up closing games out. He's not a short guard by any means. But I'm just saying the understanding when he got that starting job had to be that, hey, this is starting for now. There was like an asterisk beside it. You're just keeping this place warm. And it's not to say that he is a bad player, but it's just to say that when the better player comes back, the better player will get the starting job that the better player never lost. He just literally could not do because he didn't have two functioning legs. Again, I like your idea. It's really nice in theory. It's like when people say, bring Russell Westbrook off the bench. All right, you tell Russell Westbrook that. We got a $40 million guy coming off the bench. That's not Kevin Love. That's the only guy in the NBA making at least $25 million and comes off the bench. And if I was making $25 million, I'd come off the bench too, because I just say, you know what, I got $25 million. Why should I care? But that's another story. It's neither here nor there. But, you know, this conversation about Steph Curry, who's become the new reigning king of threes in the NBA, it does lead into the conversations that we usually have about who's the GOAT. And I know that one conversation me and you've always had is who's the greatest quarterback of all time. I firmly stand by the fact that Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time. I'm not even a Tom Brady fan to that extent, but I understand and acknowledge the fact that there's never been a quarterback better than him. And I know you're going to disagree, but I'm just saying, like, six rings is really, you don't beat 6 rings. 6 rings with 2 different organizations, even though this is an era that has leaned itself more towards throwing the ball. I mean, it's still not, every quarterback doesn't win a ring. It's hard to get 6 of them. He has the same number of rings as Michael Jordan. I mean, come on. You can't, the on-field success, he's probably winning MVP this year. He's 44 years old. He's going to win MVP just because that's the way the season's set up for him. He's going to win another MVP this year. You can't tell me there's somebody better than that.
Well, this is what I'll say. All respect and love for Tom Brady. He was with my New England Patriots. You know how I feel about my Patriots, and they're back in the mix of things. But my dear son, Dante, best quarterbacks ever. I can't come with one. I got to come with 2. I'm sorry, I don't count well. Johnny Unitas, Joe Montana. They are the absolute best, in my opinion, of quarterbacks. Don't take anything away from Tom Brady. I mean, Tom Brady is, you know, I'm not saying the next thing I'm saying to knock him, but the man's 75 years old, so he should have all the records. I mean, he's been playing for since.
Low blow. He would have had those records anyway.
I said I don't mean any harm, Dante, but come on now. Okay, but look, so Johnny Unitas was the king of the 2-minute offense back when, you know, nobody really did it. I mean, he had titles 58 and 59. I know you weren't born, you weren't even thought of. I wasn't even thought of then. I mean, so, and then they got a Super Bowl win. He got hurt against the Cowboys, so you probably don't want to count that either. But Joe Montana has 3 rings, doesn't have 6, but he is one of the best quarterbacks. The comeback kid is Joe Montana. He has done everything in the league. He didn't play as long as Brady did, but end of the game, I will take Johnny Unitas or Joe Montana. Any game, start of the game, middle of the game, end of the game, they are the 2 best quarterbacks to ever play the game.
I mean, my biggest thing would be the biggest thing that they have going to their advantage at the bare minimum for Johnny Unitas is Johnny Unitas played during the era where you can murder a quarterback on the field. You can do whatever you wanted to him at that point, and so you can step on their hands afterwards.
They played during real football, Dante, not what's going on now.
I can't say that. There's okay. You go put on a pair of pads and go on a football field right now. Then if it's not real, it still hurts. I mean, I've seen big guys covered off the field. You tell them that it's not real football still. Sorry that they discovered that people actually want to see points be scored. Got it. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Just saying. I mean, look, I'll give them their credit. They played during eras that didn't lean towards passing, so it does skew things towards Tom Brady's favor. And I mean, but then, okay, wait a second. This does not take anything away. But I mean, look, man, like, what was Joe Montana had Jerry Rice. I mean, just saying, who was Tom Brady's Jerry Rice? Because Tom Brady's Jerry Rice.
Randy Moss. He had Randy Moss 1 year.
1 year. 1 year. They didn't even win.
Deion Branch.
It's not even a Hall of Famer. I don't even know if Deion Branch made a Pro Bowl. But I mean, what are you going to tell me? Julian Edelman was his Jerry West?
And that's the ultimate right there. He had Julian Edelman. Mr. Count. He can count on him for everything.
A slot receiver who's one day going to go into the Hall of Fame just because people like to piss people off. But, that's neither here nor there. But I'm just saying, Jerry, I mean, come on, Jerry West. Okay, we'd said 1 year. You had Randy Moss's best year, fair, but it's still 1 year of Randy Moss. Deion Branch. Last year, you got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, who were good, but they're not Jerry West. He was throwing to the – oh, come on, man. He was – not Jerry Rice. Excuse me, Jerry Rice. Yeah. Sorry, my bad. Basketball brain. Still thinking about the Lakers. But in the meantime, come on. Joe Montana was throwing to the greatest receiver of all time. You get a demerit for that. I'm just saying.
Well, I mean, is it Joe Montana's fault that they had the greatest receiver of all time? Is that Joe Montana's fault that here's the thing I'll say. New England didn't cultivate a lot of receivers, but Tom Brady did do his due diligence to make those receivers look good. I give him that. He made them all look good because he is Tom Brady. And I got all the respect in the world for Brady. But I will also say, if you put Johnny Unitas and Joe Montana in these offenses of the day, they would throw for 5,000 yards and 6,000 yards too.
I haven't watched enough 1960s highlights of Johnny Unitas, so I can't even argue with that. Joe Montana, fine, I'll give you that one.
Johnny, are you over this weekend? We can watch a 1960s game.
I don't want to. A 1960s football game. I'm going to go.
If you want to, we can watch the replay of the 1958 NFL title game, Colts and the Giants.
What was the final score of that game? You don't really have to look it up.
23-17.
Oh, they actually did score points. You know what? That's better than watching
went to overtime.
Excuse me. That's better than that Rams-Patriots Super Bowl I had to watch about 2 years ago. That was a real slobber knocker there. I think Julian Edelman was
that was the epitome of strategy, and Coach Belichick, they work real hard to come up with a strategy to win that game.
I didn't say they didn't. I just said it was boring. I mean,
but if you like defense, it's exciting, Dante. And if you like rings, it's really exciting.
That's great. I didn't get a ring for that. I'm not a defensive coordinator in training, so I didn't learn anything there. I did learn, but I mean, wasn't what I was going to watch Super Bowl for. But you know what? We'll leave this as undecided because we're not going to agree on it. But that brings us to the end of this episode of the Daily Deuce. Thank you for allowing me to step in this week. I've enjoyed my time here. I hope that I have been able to shed some light on things that you previously didn't understand, and you now understand. You now can see why Tom Brady probably is the GOAT. But I'll digress.
Hey, Dante, first and foremost, man, thanks for coming and taking a seat in here on short notice. We appreciate it, and we love you. John Pitt, as always, thank you. everything that you do. We couldn't do this show without you. So thank you. Thank you, everybody, for watching this show. Thank you for being a part of it. Let me also say a special hello to a new friend of mine I met today named Robin Haley. Thank you very much for talking to me, and I look forward to hearing from you about the show. Thank you, everybody, and see you next week.
And happy holidays.
Happy holidays.